Hey everybody, it's Jason Creel and this is the Lawn Care Life. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about pre-emergence and choosing the best pre-emergent for your lawn. I'm going to give you some details and I'm going to talk to you about what I mix with my pre-emergent application to get great results on my lawn. And when I'm doing this early in the year, how I can prevent 99 to 100% of crabgrass in the lawn. Let's get started talking about that right now. All right, the time of this video is late January, and what do you see here? This is a Bermuda grass lawn, and no, the Bermuda is not turning green. This thing is loaded with weeds. Look at this. You got henbit right here, and not to be confused with henbit is the purple dead nettle, but you got weeds all over the place in this lawn. It's just slam covered with them. Why is that? Well, I'll tell you the reason why. We didn't do a fall application on this, and these are cool season weeds that germinate in the fall. I'm in Alabama. They typically germinate sometime around September, October, and we didn't prevent them with the pre-emergent. I mean, you got everything. You got poa annua, and you got just tons of henbit and tons of purple dead nettle, and I'm sure there's other weeds in here. Like, look at this one, big thistle. You know, you just got weeds all over the place. Well, what I'm going to do to this lawn is I'm going to fix it today. I'm going to fix this grass, and I may not fix everything about it, but I can pretty much fix it with one application. And so I'm going to talk to you about the pre-emergent I use. And again, the timing's important. We're talking about January is the time frame, and where you live is important. Now, some of you say, January, we're buried in snow in January. Well, I'm in Alabama. Like I said, it's nearly 70 degrees today. Now, we've had some cold weather and some freezing weather, and the grass is pretty much dormant, but I want to get my pre-emergent out before the crabgrass and warm season weeds start germinating. Now, in my area, that typically happens sometime in March. It may even happen late February if we have some warm weather. Okay, so we've established the problem. We've got cool season weeds running rampant in this yard, and we're also getting pretty close to the time where the warm season weeds are going to start to die off. Now, you say, well, Jason, won't the heat kill these cool season weeds? Yeah, they will. In my area, they'll start dying off, you know, May or so, but you're going to have a really ugly lawn by then. I mean, I tell these people, sometimes I see these yards and they hadn't had a fall pre-emergent, it gets February, March, and you've got the henbit and the purple dead nettle, and it just looks like a sea of purple all in their yard. And, you know, and the neighbors had their yard treated and it looks nice and clean. And so, you know, these are going to get bigger and uglier as the year, as the spring goes on and the weather gets warmer. So what we're going to do, and this is when I love when I get new customers. I'm starting to get new customers from my lawn care business, and they'll call and I'll go out there and it'll look like this. So what do? Well, here's the application. We're putting out prodiamine, a three-way product called triplet, and then I'm using atrazine. Atrazine is the one of those that's restricted use product, meaning you're gonna have to have a pesticides applicator license to be able to get access to that product, to be able to purchase it. So talking about pre-emergence, this is what I'm using right here. Resolute 65 WG, and you can see here, active ingredient prodiamine. And I mix it up in a big spray tank. You can see my truck sitting over here, and I'm about to spray this lawn. And so I've got a 400-gallon spray tank over there, and I'm gonna spray this. And like I said, I mixed it with the triplet three-way product atrazine. So what's the point of those products? Well, the Resolute over here, the prodiamine that I'm mixing in there, that is what I'm using as the pre-emergent. So what's the pre-emergent trying to do? Well, we say oftentimes that prevents weeds. Basically, it kills the weeds shortly after it germinates and helps you know, kills the root where it can't establish itself as a plant. So, you know, it doesn't technically prevent it, but it prevents it in the sense that you'll never see it in the lawn because it kills it so early in its life cycle. Now, the triplet and the atrazine, they're going to take care of these weeds here. And that's not the only products you can use. I mean, triplet, like I said, there's other three-way products. Triplet has 2,4-D in it. You could just use 2,4-D. You can use metsulfuron. I mean, there's other things you can use. But those products are going to help knock out most of these weeds that you see here, especially the broadleaf ones. Now, the ones it's not going to get is going to be stuff like your poa annua and stuff like that. You're going to have to go back with a specialty product to get that, like Revolver, like Negate, like Tribute Total, like Celsius, like Katana. There's a lot of options out there to help control poa. But again, if we learn anything, hopefully, you know that the best way to not have your yard look like this in the first place is to prevent these, and I'm including the PO in that, by a well-timed fall pre-emergent application. And you can use prodiamine for that as well. On our warm season grasses here, I use Spectacle Flow, but prodiamine also will greatly reduce the amount of weeds you're seeing in a lawn like this. Other weed that this application is pretty much not going to touch is your wild garlic, wild onions, things like that. I come back and hit those with Blindside or Metsulfuron, something like that, to be able to take care of those weeds. And if you've got any grassy weeds like big clumps of Dallas grass or big ryegrass or fescue clumps that's popping up in our warm season turf, then you know you're going to have to use a specialty product like Tribute Total or something like that. Or even on a dormant Bermuda lawn, you can go in there and spray it with glyphosate and be able to knock out some of those grassy weeds. So what I'm going to do now is spray the yard. I'm going to let you watch me spray the yard, and then I want to go into detail as far as what you do if you're at a different time of the year. What if you kind of missed the timeline window of when the crabgrass germinates? Do you have any options in that situation? So let's spray and I'll talk to you about that. So we got the lawn sprayed, and it will take a little while to see some results from this, mostly because the weather's cooler. The warmer the weather gets, we get later on in the spring, these weeds will start dying real quick. With the weather we're having still getting down close to freezing sometimes at nights, it's probably going to be a few weeks before we'll see some real results. But again, don't underestimate what's going on here. You're not only controlling the existing weeds, the visible weeds, in my opinion, more importantly, we're keeping out the crabgrass and the things that are gonna start germinating around March. Again, that's gonna be dependent on where you're at, where you live, and the weather patterns can change from year to year. So on a warm spring, it might germinate earlier. If it stays cooler longer, then you may have a little more time. But what I tell people is better be early than late when getting down your pre-emergent, and we're mixing those post-emergents in there. The post-emergents mostly get rid of the cool season weeds, the pre-emergent to help control those warm season weeds. Now what if you say, Jason, I'm watching this video too late. My crabgrass is already germinated. I know it, I can't see it, but I know we've been getting up in the 70s. The soil temperatures are rising. I bet the warm season weeds have already germinated. Well, again, I'm gonna go on the calendar that I use starting in about March. That's kind of the thought I have. I get a new customer that signed up in March. They've had no pre-emergent put down in January or February, which was when I like to try to get the pre-emergent out. And just worth mentioning, I come back and put a second round out in late February, early March. So I do like what you call a split pre-emergent application. But let's say you got a new customer calls you in March or even April. What do? You know the crabgrass is already germinated, or it's likely it has. Well, if it's very early in the germination process, then you can use a dimension for your pre-emergent. It also has some post-emergent activity on crabgrass, meaning if the crabgrass is very small, it can help control it in that stage. And it's worth mentioning too that these products I'm using, you say, Jason, I don't have a big spray tank. I mean, what do? Backpack it with a little spray tank? Well, you can, or these products, the pre-emergents often come in a granular form. It may look like a 50-pound bag that says 0-0-7, a 007 with dimension, or 007 with prodiamine or something like that. So you put that out and it can be watered in. And of course, the label is going to tell you the rate to apply these products, no matter what form you're using it in. But again, if you're late and the crabgrass is already germinated, then you can switch over to dimension, or you can just go to a straight crabgrass post-emergent product like Drive Accelerate is the one that I use. Drive, like driving a car, Accelerate, XLR, the number 8. And it will also help control it from a post-emergent standpoint. So if you know it's already germinated, sometimes what I'll do in April, let's say, I'll put the prodiamine in there as a pre-emergent to help with some summer weeds that maybe haven't germinated yet. It's not that expensive, but then I'll put the Drive Accelerate, and I'm hoping to be able to control that crabgrass in its early stages. Because once you get it later on in the summer, it's difficult to control. We use a product called Solitaire, but then later in its life cycle, to me, we typically don't even worry about spraying it. We just let the cold weather in the fall knock the crabgrass out. I know it can be a lot of information. Hopefully some of this makes sense to you. You can leave your comments below. If you enjoyed the video, you found it helpful, I would encourage you to subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and there are hundreds of videos on here where I am explaining this stuff to people and helping them understand how to have a beautiful lawn. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you guys later. Bye.